Clara was my everything. To our colleagues, she was the perfect wife. To our friends, a supportive partner. She was the one gentle light I could come home to after fighting my battles in the world. We were married for 3 years, and she would always look at me with those clean, clear eyes and say, "Ethan, I'm so lucky to have you." I believed her, right up until the moment an out-of-control truck slammed into her little red car. Right up until I held her cold body and felt my entire world collapse. While going through her things, I found her diary. It was filled with love for me, every stroke of the pen and knife twisting in my heart. Then one night I knocked over a glass of water, soaking the journal. The elegant handwriting began to dissolve and reform, and a line of blood-red text bled through the page. Plan B initiated. The fish, Ethan Black, is about to take the bait. It turned out I wasn't her lover. I was just a tool in the eyes of her and her friends, something to be squeezed of all value and then discarded like trash. A pathetic stand-in. A joke. They thought I would shatter in my grief, that I would spiral into a self-destructive madness. They were wrong. From that moment on, I became an actor, a madman living in an abyss of longing for his dead wife, and a silent avenger, hiding in the shadows, meticulously planning their funerals. This was my show to direct now. The day Clara had her accident, I was in a meeting. My phone vibrated on the conference table, the screen flashing with the name Wifey. I silenced it, figuring she was just reminding me to come home for dinner. She was always like that, my little den mother. After the meeting, I called her back. No answer. I tried 3 more times, each call ending with the same cold, automated voice. A knot of unease tightened in my stomach, but I brushed it off. Maybe her battery died, or she was out shopping with her best friend, Sophia. Then the call came from the state police. "Are you the next of kin for Ms. Clara Miller?" My world went silent. When I got to the hospital, all I saw was a gurney covered with a white sheet. I couldn't bring myself to lift it. A nurse handed me her belongings, a purse containing her phone and a set of keys. The phone screen was shattered, a spiderweb of broken glass. Dangling from the keychain was a little gardenia charm we had picked out together. I remember her saying she loved the scent of gardenias. Clean, pure, just like her. I came back to an empty house. Her heels were still by the door. On the kitchen counter sat the glass of orange juice she'd made for me that morning. I'd been in too much of a hurry to drink it. Tucked under the glass was a sticky note. "Honey, come home early tonight. I'm making your favorite braised short ribs." Her handwriting was neat, with a little smiley face drawn at the end. I picked up the glass and drained the lukewarm juice in one gulp. It was sour and bitter. The tears finally came. Clara and I met in college. She was the campus belle. The line of guys trying to ask her out could have stretched from the lecture hall to the main gate. I was just an average guy. Everyone said I didn't deserve her. But in the end, she chose me. She told me, "Ethan, they don't get it. You're the best to me." After graduation, we built a life together in this city. I started a small design firm, and she worked as my assistant. Once the company got on its feet, I told her she could quit and relax at home. She managed our lives perfectly. Every day I came home, I was greeted by the aroma of a home-cooked meal. She would run to the door and give me a hug, always smelling faintly of gardenias from the body wash she used. In 3 years of marriage, we never had a real fight. She was the perfect wife. I thought we would grow old together, just like this. But now the house was empty. No smell of dinner, no hug, no comforting scent of gardenias. I collapsed onto the sofa and curled into a ball. My life, I thought, was over. The next few days were a blur. Arranging the funeral, receiving condolences from friends and family. Sophia cried the hardest. She was Clara's best friend. She clutched my arm, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "Ethan, why was she so reckless?" She called me right before she left, said she'd bought you a new tie and wanted to surprise you. Caleb came too. He was a friend to us both and my business partner. He put a hand on my shoulder, his eyes red-rimmed. "Ethan, hang in there. Don't worry about the company. I've got it." I looked at them, feeling nothing but a numb gratitude. I thought that, besides me, they were the people who cared about Clara the most in this world. After the funeral, the house fell completely silent. I started having sleepless nights. I would look through our old photos, touching the things she'd left behind, trying to find some proof in these cold objects that she was still alive. I opened her closet. Her dresses still hung there, holding the ghost of her scent. At the very bottom, I found a lockbox. It was a beautiful wooden box, carved with a gardenia pattern. I recognized it. I'd given it to her for her birthday 1 year. I had asked her what she would put inside. She said, "Our most precious secrets." I never tried to open it. I found a spare key and opened the box. Inside, resting quietly, was a diary. It had a pink cover, very girly. I opened it to the first page. It was her handwriting, clean and neat. Today, Ethan and I are officially together. He's a little goofy, but the way he looks at me is so sincere. I think I might be falling for him. The date was the day we started seeing each other. I turned the pages one by one. The diary was a record of our life together. Ethan ran through the rain to buy me a slice of my favorite cheesecake today and came back with a fever. That idiot. The firm landed its first big contract. He got drunk and held me, saying, "Honey, I'm going to give you the good life." We got married. His hand was shaking when he put the ring on my finger. Mine were too. He said he loves the gardenia scent on my skin. It's really just a body wash he bought me. But since he likes it, I'll keep using it forever. Every word was a needle in my heart. The writing made it feel like she was still here, whispering in my ear. I held the diary and cried through the night. This journal became my only solace. Every night, I would hold it while I slept. I reread the words over and over, reliving our sweetest memories. I shut myself in the house and refused to see anyone. Caleb called, saying there was a problem with the project at the firm and he needed me to come in. I refused. I told him I needed time. Sophia visited a few times, always bringing food. She told me I had to move on, that the dead can't be brought back. "Ethan, Clara wouldn't want to see you like this from heaven," she said. I looked at her, knowing she was right, but I couldn't do it. Clara was my whole world. How was I supposed to move on when my world was gone? That night, a storm raged outside. Thunder and lightning. I was reading Clara's diary again, the entry about our trip to the coast. Ethan built me a sandcastle on the beach. He said I was his queen. I smiled, but a tear traced its way into the corner of my mouth. It tasted like salt. A bolt of lightning split the sky, illuminating the room in a flash of stark white, followed by a deafening clap of thunder. My hand jerked, and a glass of water on the table tipped over. A full glass spilled right onto the diary. I panicked, fumbling for paper towels to blot the pages. But it was too late. The entire journal was soaked. The paper grew soft and wrinkled as it absorbed the water. The ink began to blur and run, like a ruined watercolor painting. My heart ached. This was the last thing she had left me. I carefully laid the journal on the table, intending to dry it with a hairdryer. That's when I noticed something strange. The waterlogged script was slowly fading, not just blurring, but disappearing as if being erased. I froze. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I leaned in closer. It was true. The familiar handwriting was vanishing little by little. In its place, new strokes began to appear. They emerged from the very fibers of the paper, faint as a watermark at first. Then, the color deepened, turning into a startling blood red. Lines of entirely new, unfamiliar words replaced Clara's original diary entries. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a fist. I couldn't breathe. I looked at the first page. The sentence, "Today, Ethan and I are officially together," was gone. The new script was messy, scrawled with an unspeakable malice. Fish in the net. Ethan Black. Clean record, parents deceased, has a little money, and a soft personality. The perfect tool. The blood in my veins turned to ice. It felt like I'd been bludgeoned. I was completely stunned. Tool? What tool? I rubbed my eyes hard, convinced I was hallucinating from grief. But the blood-red words remained, sharp and clear on the page, mocking my stupidity. My hand trembling, I turned to the second page. The sweet story about me getting a fever after buying her cheesecake was also gone. Overdid the act today, let him get sick in the rain. But it was worth it to see the stupid, grateful look on his face. Caleb says we need to use a heavy hand to make him completely devoted to me. Caleb, my best friend, my business partner. Why was his name in here? The room started to spin. I forced myself to read on. Landed the first contract, all thanks to Caleb. That waste of space, Ethan only knows how to work himself to death. It's better this way, though. Let him take the credit. It'll make him trust me more, love me more. Married. The ring is so tacky, and the diamond is way too small. But Sophia says the ring doesn't matter. What matters is getting the inheritance rights to his family's old estate. That's the real prize. Sophia, Clara's best friend, the woman who had held me and cried her eyes out. A wave of nausea churned in my stomach. I want to throw up. So, the love I thought I had, the friendships I cherished, it was all fake. A meticulously planned con. I was the fish lured into the net. Stupid. Pathetic. Every page of the diary had become my indictment. He likes the gardenia scent? Hilarious. It's a cheap body wash Sophia recommended. She said this kind of scent smells the most harmless, the most like a good wife. His family's old property is about to be redeveloped. It's valued at 8 figures, at least. As a spouse, I'm the primary heir. All we need is for him to die. The car crash plan is perfect. find some fugitive, make it look like an accident. I just need to pull off my escape beforehand. Everyone will think I'm dead, including that idiot fish Ethan. Once he signs the inheritance paperwork, we'll stage another accident for him. Maybe he dies from grief over me. It will all be over. Caleb has already made the arrangements. I slumped to the floor. A deep chill racked my body, and I couldn't stop shaking. Clara wasn't dead. She wasn't dead. This entire thing, from start to finish, was a trap. What they wanted was my family's estate, all my assets, and finally my life. The person I had considered my entire world had wanted me dead from the very beginning. Why? I had given Clara, Caleb, and Sophia everything. I had never wronged them, and in return, they wanted me dead. Overwhelming grief and rage washed over me like a tsunami. I wanted to scream, to smash everything in sight. But in the end, I just bit down hard on my own fist, silencing any sound. The taste of blood filled my mouth. Slowly, I calmed down. No, I won't let them win. I can't die like this. I have to live. I have to make them pay. I looked at the diary. In the dim light, the bloody words seemed to pulse with a life of their own. This diary, what was it? How could this be happening? It was like it knew everything. Like, it was speaking to me. An absurd thought entered my mind. Maybe this wasn't an ordinary diary. Maybe it was some kind of power I couldn't understand, helping me. Who? A repentant, ghostly Clara? No, impossible. Judging by these words, she didn't have a soul. Then what? I didn't know, and I didn't care anymore. Right now, this diary was my only weapon. I carefully dried the journal with a hairdryer. The blood-red text slowly faded, and the paper returned to normal, still filled with Clara's elegant script detailing our love. It was like a nightmare that had never happened, but I knew it was real. I put the diary back in a wooden box and locked it. Then I walked to the mirror. The man looking back at me was pale, his eyes shot with blood, his face covered in stubble. He looked like a stray dog. I forced a smile. It was hideous, but it didn't matter. From now on, this is who I would be. A pathetic wretch, drowning in the pain of his wife's death. A useless wreck they could dispose of at any time. The actor was in position. It was time for the show to begin. The next morning, I called Caleb. I carefully modulated my voice to sound hoarse and exhausted. Caleb, it's me. There was a pause on the other end. Then Caleb's concerned voice. Ethan, how are you? You finally picked up. I think I want to come back to the office, I said. If I just sit here, I'll go crazy. It's good that you're thinking that way. Caleb sounded relieved. Come on in. I'm here. After hanging up, I went into the bathroom and looked at myself in a mirror. The hatred in my eyes was too raw. That wouldn't do. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, picturing Clara's smile. The smile I once thought could melt anything, but now felt like a shard of ice in my gut. I told myself, over and over, to forget the bloody words, to remember the love story she wrote. I was the fool who had been kept in the dark. The fool who loved her enough to die for her. When I opened my eyes again, the man in the mirror looked hollow, his gaze filled with nothing but endless sorrow. Much better. I shaved and changed my clothes, picking a shirt Clara had bought me. The collar was a little frayed, but I'd never had the heart to throw it away. I didn't drive. I took an Uber to the office. Walking through the doors, I was met with sympathetic glances from everyone. The young woman at the front desk looked at me, her eyes welling up. Mr. Black, my condolences. I nodded, forcing a smile that was uglier than a grimace. When I walked in my office, Caleb was sitting at my desk, going through paperwork. He shot to his feet the moment he saw me. Ethan, you're here. He came over and pulled me into a tight hug. You've lost so much weight. I could smell his expensive cologne. I leaned on his shoulder, my voice catching. Is the company okay? Don't worry, I have everything under control, he said, patting my back. The most important thing for you right now is to get better. Don't let Clara worry. There he went, bringing her up again. One actor. I pushed away from him and walked to my desk. A framed photo of Clara and me was still there. In it, she was smiling brightly, nestled in my arms. I reached out, my fingertips gently tracing her face. If I hadn't let her go out to buy me that tie, would this have happened? My voice trembled. Don't think like that, Ethan, Caleb said, placing a hand on my shoulder. It wasn't your fault. It was an accident. Nobody wanted this. He was so good that if I hadn't read the diary, I would have been moved to tears by his performance. How's the project? I changed the subject, sitting down and pretending to look at the files. We've hit a snag, Caleb said with a frown. The client for the South Side project suddenly wants to reconsider their partners. I tried to schedule a meeting with their lead several times, but I can't get through. The South Side project. It was the firm's biggest contract, the one I'd spent the most time on before everything happened. I hid a cold smile. A snag? More like a snag you deliberately created. The diary had mentioned it. Their plan was to drain the company's assets, then leave me with an empty shell and a mountain of debt. Finally, I, the grief-stricken business owner, would commit suicide from the dual blow of bankruptcy and the loss of my wife. A perfect closed loop. I'll handle it, I said. I know this project better than anyone. Can you? Caleb looked at me, his face a mask of concern. In your current state. I'll be fine. I cut him off. Keeping busy will stop me from thinking too much. I played the part of a man trying to numb his pain with work. Stubborn, fragile, with a hint of bravado. Caleb stared at me for a few seconds before finally nodding. All right, but don't overdo it. Call me if you need anything. He turned and left, thoughtfully closing the door behind him. I was alone. The grief on my face vanished. I opened my laptop and pulled up the file for the Southside project. The client's lead was a Mr. Peterson. I'd dealt with him a few times, a shrewd but principled businessman. He wouldn't back out without a good reason, unless someone had gotten to him, or offered him something he couldn't refuse. I took out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. It belonged to a guy from my college days. He was a private investigator now. The call connected. Yeah, who's this? The background was noisy. Zeke, it's me, Ethan Black. There was a moment of silence. Ethan? Is that really you? My old friend sounded shocked. Man, I haven't heard from you in forever. What's up? I need a favor, I said, lowering my voice. I need you to look into two people for me. Caleb Vance and Sophia Reed. Also Mr. Peterson from the South Side Project. Find out who he's been meeting with recently. Caleb Vance? Isn't he your partner? And Sophia. I think she's your wife's best friend, right? Zeke was sharp. Bro, what's going on? Don't ask. Just do it. Money's not an issue. All right, Zeke said, not pressing further. Give me 3 days. After hanging up, I started organizing the information I had. The diary was my ace in the hole, but it only showed me the end game, not the process. I needed to know their plan, step by step, so I could counter their moves. Or better yet, set a trap for them in advance. In the evening, I left work on time. As I stepped out of the building, Sophia's car was parked to the curb. She rolled down the window and waved. Ethan, get in. I made some dinner. Come eat at my place. I didn't look back. Downstairs, I leaned against the wall, gasping for air. I glanced up. Sophia was standing at her window, looking down at me. I could feel her gaze, cold and calculating, like a hunter watching disobedient prey. I pulled out my phone and pretended to make a call. I knew she was watching. The performance had to be complete. The call connected. It was Caleb. I had dialed him on purpose. Hello, Ethan. Caleb, do you have a minute? My voice was choked with sobs. I think I messed up. Sophia. I deliberately trailed off, my words disjointed. I needed them to think I was genuinely spooked. A fool, so simple he couldn't even handle a pass like that. Caleb was silent for a few seconds. Ethan, where are you now? I just left Sophia's place. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. I'm coming to get you. His voice was steady, like he was calming a frightened child. I hung up and glanced back at Sophia's window. She was gone, probably on the phone with Caleb, telling him their fish was acting up. A few minutes later, Caleb's car pulled up. He ushered me inside. What happened? What did Sophia say to you? I buried my face in my hands, my shoulders shaking. She said she could be there for me. I don't know what she meant. I panicked. I can't betray Clara. I was playing the devoted husband to the hilt. Caleb sighed. He started the car and began to drive. Ethan, you misunderstood. Sophia is just worried about you. She sees how much you're suffering and wanted to comfort you. That's all. Really? I looked up, my face a picture of doubt. Of course, Caleb said, glancing at me with a look of pure sincerity. We're Clara's best friends. Why would we ever do anything to disrespect her memory? You're overthinking things. He was trying to brainwash me, to explain away Sophia's suggestive move as a well-intentioned misunderstanding. The old Ethan might have actually believed him. I'm sorry, I said, looking down. Maybe you're right. My head's just been a mess lately. It's okay. I get it, he said, patting my hand. I'll take you home. Get a good night's sleep. We can deal with the company tomorrow. He dropped me off in my building and waited until I was inside before driving away. I went into my apartment and shut the door. The fragile, confused look on my face vanished. I walked to the window and watched Caleb's car disappear into the night. An invisible net was tightening around me. They wanted me trapped, struggling, and suffocated. But they didn't know I had already found the loose thread. One little pull, and the whole thing would unravel. The next day, Zeke called me back. Ethan, I found some stuff. Talk to me. Your partner, Caleb, he's been making some big moves. He set up a new offshore company behind your back, with a lot of money flowing through it. He's also been in contact with a guy named Leo Peterson. Who's Leo Peterson? He's the younger brother of your Southside Project client, Mr. Peterson. He's a gambling addict with massive debts all over town. I understood. Caleb had bought off Leo, getting him to whisper in his brother's ear. Knowing how much Mr. Peterson cared for his family, he would absolutely sacrifice a business deal to bail his brother out. What about Sophia? Anything on her? Sophia. A large, untraceable sum of money appeared in her account recently, and I check her call logs. Around the time of your wife's accident, her call frequency with Caleb was abnormally high. Zeke paused. There's one more thing, and it's a little messy. Spit it out. I found out Caleb and Sophia have a long-term hotel suite rented out. I wasn't surprised at all. Those two had been sleeping together for a while. In front of me, one played my best friend, the other my wife's loyal confidant. The irony was sickening. Ethan. Zeke's voice was hesitant. About your wife's accident. Is there something else going on? You don't need to worry about that. Just keep an eye on them. Record all their calls. Track all their movements. I want evidence of every single thing they do and say. You got it. After hanging up, I sat on the sofa, calmly planning my next move. They wanted the Southside Project to fail, to cause a massive loss for the company. I was going to do the exact opposite. Not only would I land this project, but I would make Caleb personally spit out everything he had swallowed. I called Mr. Peterson's office. The first 2 times his secretary told me he was in a meeting, I knew it was an excuse. So I sent him a text. Mr. Peterson, I can help you with the $8 million your brother lost at the Bellagio. Meet me at the coffee shop downstairs from my office in 30 minutes. Come alone. Less than a minute later, my phone rang. It was him. His voice was wary and shocked. Who is this? How do you know about that? Who I am doesn't matter, I said. What matters is that I can help you. And I can also destroy him. In a quiet booth at the coffee shop, Mr. Peterson sat across from me, looking grim. He was a man in his 40s, well-kept, but with an unmistakable exhaustion in his eyes. Mr. Black, what do you really want? He asked, getting straight to the point. Nothing, I said, stirring my coffee. Just a chance to have a proper chat with you about the Southside Project. My company is still evaluating its options. You know how fast the market changes. Mr. Peterson, I interrupted. Let's not play games. Caleb can solve your brother's problem, and so can I. But all he can do is pay off the debt. I, on the other hand, can make the people who set your brother up give back every penny with interest. And I can make sure they spend a few years in prison for it. Mr. Peterson's eyes widened. He stared at me, as if seeing me for the first time. What proof do you have? I smiled and slid a flash drive across the table. On here is the complete video of your brother being cheated at the card table. Also, a recording of a call between Caleb and the casino manager. Of course, I didn't get this myself. It was all Zeke's work. His network was more extensive than I'd imagined. Mr. Peterson picked up the flash drive, his fingers trembling slightly. He didn't look at it right away. Instead, he locked eyes with me and asked, "What are your terms?" "Simple," I said. "We move forward with the Southside Project as planned, and I need you to help me act out a little scene." Mr. Peterson was silent for a long time. Finally, he picked up the flash drive and stood up. "Mr. Black, it's a pleasure doing business with you." After he left, I returned to the office. Caleb was on the phone in his office, the door slightly ajar. I overheard him saying, "Yeah, I've got a handle. His brother is taken care of, don't worry. That fool Ethan doesn't suspect a thing." I walked past his door without a change in expression. Back in my own office, I waited for about half an hour. Then my phone rang. It was Caleb. His voice was thick with suppressed excitement and a hint of confusion. "Ethan, Mr. Peterson just called me. He said they've decided to move forward with us on the Southside Project. Is that so?" My voice was flat. "That's great. Did you go see him?" "MHM," I lied. I waited for him outside his building, pitched him on our company's strengths and my new vision for the project. I guess I managed to convince him. I was crafting the image of a dedicated man, working through his grief for the sake of his company. There was a long silence on the other end. I could just imagine the look on his face. It must have been priceless. "Ethan, you've worked too hard," he finally said. "You should get some rest. I'll handle the follow-up." "Okay." I hung up, a cold smile spreading across my face. "Caleb, this is just the first gift. The real show is just getting started." That afternoon, Sophia sent me a text. "Ethan, are you free tonight? Let's get dinner. There's something I want to talk to you about." I replied with a simple, "Okay." I was curious to see what new trick she had up her sleeve. The meeting spot was a high-end steakhouse. Sophia was wearing a sleek black dress and had her makeup done perfectly. She looked even more alluring than usual. "Ethan, congratulations," she said, raising her wine glass. Caleb told me you sealed the deal for the South Side project. That's amazing. Just got lucky, I said, clinking my glass against hers. Don't say that. I knew you weren't the type to be easily knocked down. Her eyes lingered on my face. You know, Clara used to tell me that the thing she admired most about you was your fighting spirit. There she went again, bringing up Clara, using my dead wife to get closer to me. Disgusting. Sophia, I said, putting my glass down and looking directly at her. Why did you really want to see me tonight? She seemed taken aback, probably not expecting me to be so direct. She bit her lip, hesitating. Ethan, there are some things. I don't know if I should say them. Say them. It's just. She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself. Clara, she might not have been who you thought she was. She was hiding things from you. Here it comes. The next phase of their plan. After their first attempt failed, they changed tactics. Now, they were going to tarnish Clara's memory to make me give up on her. Once my love for Clara was broken, they would have their opening. Or perhaps they thought a man who'd been cheated on would be easier to break? I looked at Sophia, my face a perfect mask of shock and anger. That's a lie. Clara wasn't like that. I slammed my hand on the table and stood up. My voice was loud enough to turn heads. Ethan, calm down. Sophia stood up, trying to grab my arm. I shook her off. I don't believe you. Show me proof. I was like a cornered lion. This was exactly what they wanted to see. Proof. Sophia was startled by my reaction and took a step back. I don't have any proof. I just heard some rumors. Rumors? I sneered. Sophia, aren't you Clara's best friend? How could you say something like that about her? Or did you just make it all up? I pressed her, cornering her. I wanted her to produce the evidence they had prepared. I didn't make it up, Sophia said, her voice cracking and her eyes turning red. Ethan, I'm doing this for you. I don't want you to live a lie. Clara, she and Caleb were not just friends. She finally said it, slinging mud at both Caleb and Clara, killing two birds with one stone. It would make me hate Clara and sow seeds of doubt and discord between me and Caleb. Then they could sit back and reap the rewards. What? What did you say? I froze as if struck by lightning. Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. Caleb is my best friend. Why is it impossible? Sophia scoffed. You were busy with the company all the time. Do you have any idea how lonely Clara was at home? Caleb came over often to keep her company, brought her gifts, took her out. People at the office saw them. She had her story straight, complete with witnesses. I looked at her, and only one thought came to mind. Vicious. This woman was truly vicious. She would sell out her own partner without a second thought. Perhaps in their grand plan, Caleb was also meant to be a disposable pawn in the end. I don't believe you. I sank back into my chair, mumbling to myself. Ethan, wake up, Sophia said, moving to the seat next to me, her tone softening again. I know this is hard to accept, but it's the truth. I found out by accident. They had been together for a long time. She began to weave a tapestry of lies. She said she saw Caleb dropping Clara off at home, saw them acting intimately. She said she saw flirtatious texts from Caleb on Clara's phone. She told the story with such conviction. I kept my head down, my shoulders trembling. I wasn't acting anymore. I genuinely felt waves of physical revulsion. These people would do anything for money. Ethan, Sophia gently nudged me. I snapped my head up, my eyes bloodshot. Then, Clara's car accident. My voice was hoarse, like I'd been wandering the desert for days. A look of pity crossed Sophia's face. I don't know. Maybe it was just an accident. When she said she didn't know, it meant she knew. She was implying that Clara's accident might be connected to Caleb. A brilliant move, using me as a weapon. She wanted me to go after Caleb. Once we had destroyed each other, she could sweep in and clean up the mess. Such a clever plan. I have to go ask Caleb. I shot up, ready to storm out. Don't go. Sophia grabbed my arm. If you confront him now, he'll just deny everything. You have no proof, and he'll say I'm trying to drive a wedge between you. Then what should I do? I turned back, looking at her helplessly. I was a drowning man, grasping at the last straw. Listen to me, Sophia said, taking my hand. Hers was hot and sticky now. We pretend we don't know anything. Then we gather evidence behind his back. Once we have something on him, we can destroy his reputation. Her eyes gleamed with a greedy, excited light. She thought she had me, her fish, completely hooked. She was the hunter, and I was her hound, sent to tear Caleb apart. But she didn't know. From the very beginning, there was only one hunter in this game, and they were all my prey. I followed Sophia's advice. On the surface, I acted as if nothing had happened. At work, I was still Caleb's best buddy. But every now and then, I would casually bring up Clara in front of him, then fix him with a look of suspicion and scrutiny. Caleb was on high alert. He must have heard something from Sophia. He started dropping hints to me, bad-mouthing Sophia. He said she was always jealous of Clara and wanted to take her place. He said she had even tried to seduce him once, but he had turned her down. The two of them had started to tear at each other. All I had to do was sit back and enjoy the show. Meanwhile, I began my own game. A game only a ghost could play. Using the surveillance Zeke provided, I tracked Caleb and Sophia's every move. I knew the hotel room where they met. I knew Caleb kept a spare key hidden under a potted plant in his office. I knew Sophia had a history of sleepwalking, which worsened under stress. And so, the games began. Night 1. Caleb and Sophia were at their hotel suite. I had Zeke send a text to Caleb from a burner phone. The message was simple, just 3 words. I know. The message was timed to the second, sent when they were at their most intimate. Through the hacked hotel surveillance feed, I watched Caleb freeze. He and Sophia erupted into a furious argument, accusing and suspecting each other. Night 2. Sophia was home alone. She had a habit of drinking red wine before bed. I had Zeke rent an apartment across from hers. Once she was asleep, he used a high-power directional speaker to play a recording. The audio was of Clara's voice, which I had edited from our old home videos. Sophia, why would you do this to me? How dare you try to take what's mine? Give me back what you stole. The voice was faint, ethereal, just loud enough to drift in her bedroom. According to the surveillance, Sophia woke up in a panic. She started pacing her apartment, her face a mask of terror. Her sleepwalking had kicked in. Night 3. It was Caleb's turn. I used the key from Zeke to slip into his office. On his desk was an expensive antique vase he was very fond of. I smashed it. Then, next to the shards, I used lipstick to write a single letter. For Clara. The lipstick was Clara's favorite shade from before she died. I also sprayed a little gardenia-scented perfume near the AC vent. The next morning, I made sure I was the first to happen upon the scene. I immediately reported it and called Caleb. When he arrived at the office, his face was ashen. The police investigated but found no signs of forced entry. The security footage for that specific time had been coincidentally wiped by a technical glitch. It was a mystery. Caleb stared at the broken porcelain and the blood-red sea, shaking like a leaf. He was starting to believe that Clara's ghost had come back for revenge. These two were now puppets on my string, their sanity slowly unraveling. I knew it was time to close the net. I called a critical shareholders meeting, summoning both Caleb and Sophia to the office. The meeting was at night. I also invited one other important guest, Mr. Peterson. I told him he was in for a good show tonight, and that he would be the final and most important witness. The conference room was dimly lit. The only light came from the projector, casting an eerie glow on our faces. Ethan, what the hell is this? Caleb's tone was hostile. Why are we having a meeting in the middle of the night? He was clearly on edge, with dark circles under his eyes and a short temper. Sophia sat next to him, just as pale, sipping constantly from a bottle of water. Patience, I said with a small smile. We'll begin when everyone is here. Just as I said that, the door opened, and Mr. Peterson walked in. Caleb and Sophia stared at him, stunned. Mr. Peterson, what are you doing here? Caleb scrambled to his feet. I invited him, I said. Mr. Peterson is a new shareholder in our company. He bought out Mr. Wright's shares. I looked at Caleb. His face turned a sickly shade of green. Mr. Wright was a minor shareholder who had been wanting to cash out for a while. I had promised Mr. Peterson a cut of the South Side Project's profits in exchange for him buying the shares. This meant my control over the company was now even stronger. Ethan, you? Caleb pointed at me, speechless. Sit down, Caleb, I gestured. Today's meeting is very important. It's about the future of this company and also about some past events. I pressed a button on the remote. The projector screen lit up, playing a video. It was the surveillance footage from the hotel room. On screen, Caleb and Sophia were tangled together, naked. What is this? Sophia shrieked, jumping to her feet. Caleb's face had turned purple. Ethan, are you insane? He lunged for the remote in my hand. Not so fast, I said, leaning back to avoid him. The best part is yet to come. I let the video play. Their conversation filled the room. That idiot fish Ethan is probably still at home, crying over his wife's ashes. Once we get the payout for the old estate, we'll get rid of him. Don't worry, the guy I hired is a professional, very clean. Every sentence was a hammer blow, echoing in the silent conference room. Mr. Peterson's face was a mask of shock. Caleb and Sophia were frozen, like mannequins drained of their souls. You? Sophia pointed a trembling finger at me. When did you find out? It started on a rainy night, I said. When I spilled a glass of water and soaked Clara's diary, I looked from one to the other, my voice cold and precise. You thought I knew nothing. You thought you were the hunters, and I was the prey. You put on a show for me, thinking I was pathetic and laughable. But you were wrong. The real actor here was me. I played along with you. I watched you turn on each other. I watched you get tormented by your own guilty consciences. Was it fun? I asked. Caleb swayed and collapsed onto the floor. Sophia slumped in her chair, her eyes vacant. It's over, Ethan, Caleb mumbled. You win. Call the police. The police. I laughed. No. That would be too easy for you. The game isn't over yet. I clapped my hands twice. The conference room door opened again. A woman in a red dress walked in. Her face wore that familiar, gentle smile. It was my dead wife, Clara. When Caleb and Sophia saw her, they looked like they had truly seen a ghost. Their eyes bulged, their mouths hung open wide enough to fit an egg. Sophia let out an ear-piercing scream and slid from her chair, fainting on the floor. Caleb scrambled backwards, crawling away until his back hit the wall, with nowhere left to run. A ghost! It's a ghost! Clara ignored them. She walked straight towards me. She reached out, as if to touch my face. Honey, I'm back. Her voice was as gentle as ever. I looked at her and smiled. Then, as her eyes widened in shock, I swung my hand and slapped her hard across the face. Don't touch me. My voice was ice. You disgust me. I had put all my strength into that slap. A red mark instantly bloomed on Clara's cheek. She was stunned. She cradled her face, looking at me in disbelief. Ethan, you hit me. Hit you. I stepped closer, grabbing her chin and forcing her to look me in the eye. I'm going to kill you. There was no emotion in my eyes. Only a cold, bottomless hatred. My gaze terrified her. She started to tremble. You know everything. Yes, I said. I know you're not dead. I know the crash was a setup, that the body belonged to a stand-in. I know you and your friends planned to take everything from me and then have me killed. And I also know, I leaned in, whispering so only she could hear, that you, Caleb, and Sophia are all about to go somewhere very, very busy. Her pupils contracted violently. Just then, the conference room door opened for a third time. This time, it was a group of uniformed police officers. The one in the lead was a stern-faced, middle-aged detective. Police. Nobody move. Caleb and Sophia, who had just been revived, looked at the police as if they were saviors. Caleb crawled towards them. Officer, help. He's trying to kill us. He's insane, he shrieked, pointing at me. Clara also snapped out of her stupor. Yes, he knows. He's trying to get revenge. Arrest him. They thought I had called the police. They thought the worst that could happen to them was a charge of fraud, maybe attempted murder. They were wrong again. The lead detective ignored their hysterics. He walked straight to me and gave a slight nod. Then he turned to Clara and produced a warrant. Clara Miller, you're under arrest in connection with an international money laundering scheme and multiple counts of conspiracy to commit murder. The cold steel of handcuffs snapped around Clara's wrists. She was completely dumbfounded. What? What money laundering? What murder? I don't know anything. You have the wrong person. The detective ignored her and moved on to Caleb and Sophia. Caleb Vance, Sophia Reed, you are also under arrest as accessories. Two other officers cuffed them. They were just as stunned. No, we were just trying to get some money. Sophia babbled. We didn't kill anyone. It was her. Caleb suddenly screamed, pointing at Clara. It was all her. She contacted the overseas organization. She said she could wash the money for us. She found the body double for the crash. We didn't know anything. He had started to turn on her like a rabid dog. You're lying. Clara shrieked back. You were both in on it. You both took the money. The three of them began to tear each other apart, right there in front of the police. It was quite a show. Mr. Peterson had been watching from the side, utterly speechless. I walked over to him and clapped him on the shoulder. Mr. Peterson, I'll leave the rest to you, as a key witness in this case. He looked at me, his expression a complex mix of emotions. Mr. Black, I'm just a poor, grieving man, I said with a smile, trying to get justice for my dead wife. I turned and walked out of the conference room. The sounds of their screaming and crying faded behind me, no longer my concern. I had known for a while that their plot was about more than just my money. The diary had later revealed more information. It told me that Clara was connected to a vast criminal enterprise. She, Caleb, and Sophia were just small-time players, foot soldiers tasked with clearing obstacles. Their real target was a patented technology my father had left me. The patent was encrypted and locked away in a safe in the old family estate. They thought that if I died, they could legally take possession of the estate and find the technology. I had passed all this information to the police through an anonymous tip. Following the thread, the authorities uncovered a massive case. All I had to do was gather them all in one place at the end, to host a perfect funeral for them. I walked out of the office building. The sun was rising. A whole night had passed. I felt like I had been reborn. The case closed quickly. The evidence was irrefutable, and their mutual accusations made the trial a swift affair. Clara, Caleb, Sophia, and the criminal network behind them were all taken down. The ringleader received a death sentence, carried out immediately. The three of them, due to their cooperation, were sentenced to life in prison. They would spend the rest of their days behind bars. The company was mine again. Mr. Peterson became my most trusted business partner. The Southside project proceeded without a hitch. Everything was back to normal, as if nothing had ever happened. I got rid of everything in the house. Anything connected to Clara was thrown out, including that gardenia scent. I bought a new body wash. It smelled like fresh-cut grass. Clean. The only thing I kept was the wooden box carved with gardenias. Inside it was the mysterious diary. After the case was officially closed, I opened it one last time. I submerged it in water. The elegant, fake words of love faded away once more, and the blood-red text reappeared. This time, it wasn't a revelation of a dark plot. It was a statement written like a summary. The first story is complete. Protagonist, Ethan Black. Mission, revenge. Completion status, perfect. Reward, a new life. My heart skipped a beat as I read those lines. Story? Protagonist? Mission? What in the world was this diary? I lifted it out of the water and turned to the last page. It had always been blank before, but now blood-red words had appeared there, too. Just one sentence. I leaned in to read it. It said, "Don't celebrate too soon. Your story is over. Mine is just beginning. Are you ready to meet your new wife?" The diary in my hands suddenly grew scorching hot, like a branding iron. I cried out and dropped it. It hit the floor, and the pages began to flip on their own, a rustling whisper in the silent room. It stopped on the very first page. The blood-red text was rapidly shifting, rearranging itself. A few seconds later, a new line of elegant, neat handwriting appeared. It was identical to Clara's. It read, "Today I met a very interesting man. His name is Ethan Black, and the way he looks at me is so sincere. I think I might be falling in love with him."